Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Welcome in, everybody. It's Christian Hinton here, and I am with Patti Feck, the National Sales Manager for Sensata Technologies and a new inductee into Tire Review's 2025 class of Club 3633. Patti, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Christian. It's humbling to be honored with this recognition. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Patti, let's get right into the questions. My first question is just about your current role. Describe your current role. And I know it's a little hard to talk about yourself sometimes, but talk about how you feel maybe you're making a difference for Sensata and both the tire industry just in general.
Sure. Well, I guess to start, Sensata Technologies is our parent company, and a lot of people know that, know us under the brands of Schrader, TPMS. So I came to work for Sensata about 6 years ago from a company, Tenneco, which I'm sure a lot of people know in the tire world, and Monroe Shocks and Struts and many other Moog suspension, etc. So, but overall, my position as National Sales Manager, I cover the whole country, and I have a bit of a hybrid role with the company, and the fact that I do have responsibility for all the traditional warehouse distributors that we sell our products to, that then distribute that down to the auto parts channel, and then obviously the dealer channel. I also have a couple of major accounts with the company, and it keeps me rocking. So I do everything from basically customer service, collecting the orders, helping to pull the product through the distribution from the warehouse distributors down to the installer level. And I think one of the things that has always helped me succeed in the business is my ability to kind of consult tire dealers and installers on the dialogue that's necessary in order to communicate the sale of our products.
Sure.
And a really handy phrase that I was taught probably one of my first weeks on the job, 35 years ago, would be benefits, technical tells and benefits sell. So it's really all about, it's one thing understanding the technical side of this business when you're a representative or you're talking to the customer, but the real advantage to, I think, most tire dealers or installers today is really having the opportunity to have the consumer understand the benefits of why they should invest in purchasing a particular product or service.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great. That's great to hear. Patti, you were described as a pioneer for women in aftermarket sales. Looking back, maybe what were some early challenges that you faced breaking into this space, and how did you push through those challenges?
Well, 35 years ago, being a woman entering the automotive or the tire space, it was one of those things that I don't know if I really understood the challenge that I probably was in the middle of. I'm a very competitive person. So I always joke a little bit that I may have gotten the job partly because I was a woman, and this business is not one that oftentimes attracts females because of it's not necessarily always a glamorous role. Right. But I'm so competitive, and the minute that my first employer knew that I had played sports through college and kind of had that competitive spirit, I think they just knew that personality-wise, I was going to have that capability of competing and being successful, in whatever I was doing. So it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. And I entered into the opportunity just knowing that this was going to be a potential business that was going to allow me to grow in my career, allow me to be successful. And at the end of the day, I am the youngest of 5 children, put myself through college, all those great things. And my biggest goal in life was to not have to worry where my next $5 was coming from. So I would have to say that my whole focus wasn't that I was a woman entering the male field. I was just doing it because I knew that the future of this was going to be really bright for me financially and career wise. So it really had nothing to do with being a woman. When I entered, you're around large groups of men constantly. And certainly, I think one of the biggest hurdles when you are a woman in this business is the first time you meet somebody. Oftentimes they see you and they see a woman coming in. But once you have established yourself and really gain the confidence that you need in the products that you're selling or what you're best at, that often overshadows that other female piece. And so after being in this business for the period of time that I have, um, I look back and I realize some of the obstacles that maybe I didn't even realize I was in the midst of, because my whole focus really wasn't to prove that I was better or good because I was a woman. It was really just focusing in on myself and wanting to be a champion of what I was chatting about, so that we could really make sure the focus was placed on that, and I could show customers quickly that I was a really great problem solver, which is at the end of the day, I think what makes me probably a pretty good salesperson. There's not too many things that can be thrown at me that I'm not going to figure out how to actually solve the issue or correct whatever needs to be done. So
Absolutely.
hopefully that helps explain that.
Oh, absolutely. No, it absolutely does. And a little bit before, you talked about customer relationships, customer service. That's a huge keyword, right? That's talked about a lot. But you're recognized for genuine advocacy for your customers. Do you have any special stories about how your customer focused made a lasting impact on either you or your team, or any sort of stories that you can tell about why you have such a focus on that customer service aspect of things?
I don't know if I can recall an absolute specific, but I think that at the end of the day, I think people still do buy from people, and it really, even though we're at the day and age of price and commodities and you know tariff pricing. I mean, there's so much going on right now, but at the end of the day, the customer truly wants to they truly do want to like the person that they're dealing with, have confidence in the fact that they're going to be taken care of. And I think that that's really probably what I do best. I can probably give, like, coming off the top of my head, I can give an example of, I was in the middle of a meeting during Apex SEMA week last fall with a customer that's been on board with us for probably about 3 years. And when the customer came on board to purchase Schrader, we are certainly not the lowest price TPMS product in the industry. And we have a very strong name. We're OE, all these other great benefits. But we were competing against a very aggressive competitor at the same time when they originally took the product on. So last year, they have had some great success in TPMS through the last few years that we've taken them on board. We've worked hard to grow their business with them. So we actually did ask, why 3 years ago did you choose Schrader? And at the end of the day, I was really humbled that the gentleman said, because the way Patti approached us and showed that she really cared about our business and wanted to help grow the business, and help us succeed and move the category higher, versus the other competitor was just really willing to sell them. They really didn't seem to care about where their current business was or how they could grow that business. So I think that that's probably just a testament to myself and my team members as well. I always say that anybody can buy another person's product, but it's the person that can help them actually drive sales and move that off the shelf and grow the business is the one that really is hopefully the one that they choose.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the person who nominated you described you as a hunter when it comes to sales, which I love.
Yeah.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcox Media.
After more than 30 years in the business, like what keeps you energized and motivated to keep growing sales and nurturing those customer relationships?
That's a great question. Well, I think that, through my career, and I take this from a person that I was one of my mentors for many years, Susan L. Ray, and we had this discussion when I first came to work for Sensata, and we both discussed the fact that your career is kind of segmented in three parts. And the first one is you're learning it, right? You're learning the business you're in and the career, what have you. The second part would be that you're earning it. So after you've learned everything, you're now pretty seasoned and you're ready to go out and go get them and use your tools, and you're earning it. And so it's learn, earn, and the third piece would be return. So I really feel like what probably drives me today, bar none, I'm a salesperson at heart and I'm always driven financially. But I think the financial piece somewhat has taken a back seat to whether or not I'm really happy and satisfied in my role, and how, in what ways can I actually give back to, mentor people or, other colleagues that I'm dealing with, customers, installers. And it's a fun place to be in your last third of your career, because you certainly have pressures every day to succeed and do well. But fortunately, you've gotten to that point where you're comfortable with who you are and where you are in your career. And it's just a time for you to be able to shine and to also lift others up, and lift customers up and do well and have some fun. And I always say that sales calls in general and the way that we do business sometimes can become a little bit monotonous.
Yeah.
But I always say to the people around me, we're the ones who are going to create the fun around us. And that's going to display itself to the person you're talking to or the customer every day of the week. So it's about having fun, lifting people up, and, just making sure that, every day when you wake up, there's a reason to go out there and just do a little bit better, and I am a hunter. I don't know. Naturally, it's just, I am always looking at new opportunities and prospects. And I always say that when I have a chance, when somebody finally gives me that opportunity to sit down and have a meeting, I always say, it's not if you're going to do business with me. I always say it's when, because the minute that they invested time to sit down and hear what you had to say, after that, it's all ice, or, frosting on the cake.
Sure.
It's now your ability. You've broken through, and they now are interested in what you have to say. And if you have a great story and you have a great product and brands, they're not traditionally going to always uh, change over to your brand right away, but you've broken through and established that relationship, and that's going to do nothing but continue to grow as long as you water it.
Right.
And if you water that and follow up, then at some point you're going to have an opportunity with that prospect or that account. So I think it's just that drive and that hunt in me. I love to, and it's obviously I'm very competitive with other people, but also just within myself and wanting to continue to grow and do well. You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when it comes to wanting to continue to do well, wanting to grow, do you keep up with professional development in terms of continuing maybe education efforts, reading certain books, business books, whatever the case may be? How do you keep up with that professional development?
Yeah, great question. So I think one of the ways I am part of the Women in Auto Care
Mm.
program. And believe it or not, that's relatively just in the last, 6 years that I've been part of Sensata. You'd think naturally that I would have been part of this for all 35 years,
Yeah.
but what's neat about the Women in Auto Care is the fact that there are a lot of women that are entering this business, and there's certainly a tremendous amount more women in it than many years ago,
Sure.
and that's exciting to see. It's exciting to see that women are noticing that the automotive business has a place for them, and I always say women do so well in this business. We add a level of we just add this a level of I don't know what the word would be, just softness.
Yeah.
We it's a very hard business at times in the way that people are in our business. So it's and we're bringing a lot of unique ideas and
Hmm.
just a whole new perspective on what sometimes tire dealers or dealers might want to think about that they haven't in a different way.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that's probably Women in Auto Care is one thing that I enjoy following. I do subscribe to the aftermarket news and the tire review.
Sure.
I mean, we gain Modern Tire Dealer. We definitely gain a lot of perspective about our business. From the information that's being given, from industry articles and information, and it's really helpful in prospecting and figuring out who we really should be doing business with.
Absolutely. Do you have an official position in Women in Auto Care in that program, or you're just part of the group?
I don't. I've never actually gone in and been part of a higher level
Sure.
there.
Yeah.
Although did just recently participate in the Women in Auto Care conference
Oh, nice.
back in February in the Atlanta area, and was able to participate at a really nice level there with the silent auction that they have, and yeah, just really enjoyed networking and meeting new women in this business. I think when I'm there, it's there's a lot of new women in this business, and I think by participating, it's unique for them to sometimes meet a woman who has been in the business
Yeah.
as long as I have. Just giving them a little bit of perspective and maybe some ideas on how I think they can continue to be successful, um, you know, by the way they present themselves, and really just being part of what's really considered somewhat of a man's world in the automotive business.
Sure, absolutely. And Patty, last question for you here. What are you most excited about for the future of the industry? This is a two-parter. And then what are you most fearful for? But what are you most excited about first? We'll start with the positive.
Mm. Well, what's exciting, really, I think, in our business is just to see the level of, probably just technically, people are becoming much more advanced in the way that they're distributing products,
Mm.
in the way that they obviously purchase products. A lot is done online, even though they might have local distribution. The way things are actually delivered, to the customers today.
Yeah.
There's just so many advancements in today's business, and to look at it the way we used to do business versus the way we do business today, it's it's been exciting, but it's also forced a lot of change. And change isn't always an easy thing for people to accept in the business,
Yeah.
but it certainly has added a level of technology, so to say, on the way that people are really going about their everyday, dealing with the customers, and hopefully carrying themselves in a very professional manner.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
what was the second part
The
of that
second part
question?
was, so that's what you're excited for. What are you maybe
Yeah.
fearful for or not as excited about when it comes to the future of the industry?
Well, the fearful piece probably would be consolidation,
Mm.
right? I think everybody's looking and watching the way things are consolidating the way they are, especially in the tire business. I mean,
Yep.
we're watching so many, captive store, people that might have 6 to 12 locations or 12 to 24 locations. A lot of those companies are selling to, larger private equity type organizations
Sure.
and whatnot. And what happens in that perspective is the fact that it's really driving, the business in normally in one direction, right? In how I might say it is, you have large captive installer type accounts that might only be dedicated to one specific brand of TPMS or tire or what have you. And yet the multiple businesses that they purchased to be who they are today at one time probably represented far more than just one brand.
Yeah.
So the manufacturers definitely have to. It's just interesting to see that happen, and I think it's important for the manufacturers of companies to do whatever they have to do in order to stay, doing business with these companies, and be competitive if they can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Patti, thank you so much for joining us today. And I guess all I have to say left is welcome to the club.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Christian.